Let's now go over the syllabus and the reading assignments for the class. I will be going over this material that's available on the D2L webpage. So here's the D2L webpage, and if you go to Syllabus and Grades, oops. And press Syllabus, you have a copy of this material that I'll be covering. Okay. All right. The other instructors in the class are Professor Hiro Iwasaki. He's teaching sections 1 and 2, and they meet directly before our class. He is a veteran of the class. He's taught it a few times before. This is my first time teaching this class, but I have taught the equivalent of this class, a mechanics class for engineers and scientists at North Carolina State University many times previously. And Dr. Andrew Kohler, who's your instructor today for today's lecture. And after I cover the syllabus and the reading assignments, I will hand it off to Dr. Kohler. So first of all, let's just mention what the course is about. It's about mechanics. Mechanics is about how things push each other, how they move. So we'll talk about things like velocity, acceleration, forces, momentum, energy, rotational motion, oscillations, and waves. These are very important concepts that will be used in a lot of applications. And so the hope is that this course is not just simply taking a required class for credit for your major, but it's actually something you will use in your coursework as well as in life after you've graduated. That's my goal here. Now the prerequisites are Math 132, 152H, or Lyman-Briggs 118. As I mentioned, Hiro Iwasaki is teaching sections 1 and 2. We're in section 3. There is a Physics 183 help room, and that's in what's called the Strosacker Learning Center. That's also simply 1248 BPS. And that will actually start next week. It's not open the first week. But I mentioned that my office hours will be directly after class. So I will, after class, every class that I'm here, I will answer questions. You just walk with me to the help room, and I'll be there until 4:30 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays. But you're encouraged to, if you'd like, to get tutoring from various dorm neighborhoods, if there's something available through the college, if you want private tutoring, things like that, there are a lot of resources available. Please talk to me if you're looking for extra help, and maybe I can find something that's useful for you. Okay, now we'll get to the thing that a lot of people want to know about on the first day, the grading information. So before each class, I've already mentioned there is a, in the online homework, there is a pre-lecture homework assignment. And so that's worth 5% of the grade. And then the regular homework assignments, that's usually on the weekends, those are worth 20%. Now, I should mention at this point that I'm well aware, having taught the equivalent of this class at North Carolina State University for many years, that there's a lot of solutions to problems on the online, on the internet, and you can basically do homework sets by reading solutions online. I actually have no problem with you reading solutions online. Actually, in my point of view, if you read a solution online, it's equivalent to getting help from somebody else. However, I think it's not in your interest, though, to only do that. In other words, don't short-circuit the process. let me give you an example. Suppose you were training for a 10K race. And let's say the 10K race was 2 months from now, and you decided you're going to train 4 times a week and run whatever number of kilometers you want each day. But what you would do is each morning you'd wake up, you'd put on your socks, your running shoes, and all your running stuff, and then you would take your car and drive the route that you were supposed to run and come back. Now, yes, you end up going the distance, you learn the route, but you don't actually put in any running. And as a result, when the race comes, you're going to do pretty badly. And that's exactly what would happen if you do your homework by just reading solutions online, looking for quick formulas to plug in. Maybe online it says the formula is d over t squared. And then you look for the d in your problem, divide by t squared, and you punch in the number, and that's how you do the problem. Well, the problem is that on the quiz, which is worth 50% of your grade, you will have maybe a similar problem, but a little bit different, and you won't have any help. Now, if you've been doing all your problems by crunching in numbers you've read online, you're going to really suffer on the quizzes. So I'm telling you, simply from a strategic point of view, that when you get help on your homework, whether it's online or from somebody else, one key thing you should keep in mind is, after I've done this problem, can I actually do the problem without help? So ask yourself this question: can I do this problem without help? If the answer is no, then it's your responsibility to keep digging at it until you understand how. So what I'm saying is, I don't have a problem with you finding help online, but I do think it doesn't make any sense to stop there and just to short-circuit the process and punch in numbers without knowing how to do the problems, because then you're going to blow your grade on the quizzes. The same thing with the final exam, which is worth 25%. Now, I should mention there's also 5% extra credit that comes from the clickers that I will mention in a moment. But in terms of the grading scale, it's a fixed grading scale. And these are the minimum thresholds for the grades. And if you're above 92%, you get a 4.0. If you're between 92 and 84, 3.5. Between 84 and 76, 3.0. 76 and 68, 2.5. 68 and 60, 2.0. 60 and 52, 1.5. 52 and 44, 1.0. Below 44% is a 0. I mentioned extra credit. There's actually 2 forms of extra credit. There's 5% extra credit from these clicker questions that will be asked during lecture. So you're going to have to purchase one of these clickers, these iClickers. If you need more information on how to purchase the iClickers, you can find this actually on our D2L webpage. But you're responsible for bringing the clickers to class. We will start using clickers next week, the second week of classes, and these clickers will be used for extra credit. So if you get the question right, you get 2 points. If you get a wrong answer, you still get 1 point. You don't get anything for no answer. So just showing up is worthwhile. And because this is not supposed to be a really hard grading scale for the clickers, if you get 70% of the clicker points, of the possible number of clicker points, you end up getting the full 5% extra credit. So there is no makeup clicker points or anything like that. This takes into account the fact that some students will be missing classes. Now, so to repeat, 5% extra credit for the clickers. Now, there's an additional 1% extra credit, which actually doesn't even show up here. There's an additional 1% of extra credit, which is coming from the assessment tests that we will take at the beginning and at the end of the semester. So on Thursday of this week, we will give the first the pre-assessment test. This is just basically for the physics department to understand how well we're teaching physics, and so we give an assessment test before and after we've taught a class. And to encourage people to take part in this, you will actually receive 1% extra credit for doing these assignments, these assessments before and afterwards. Now, in terms of the course materials, I already mentioned that the textbook is Physics for Scientists and Engineers by Randall Knight. It looks like this. Okay. And it's the second custom edition for Michigan State University. And we will discuss chapters 1 through 17. If you need more information on where to get it, you can follow this link here, which is on our, you can actually follow the link through the D2L webpage as well. And more information here about the iClicker. So in addition to the iClicker, as I said, you should really invest in this so that you can take part in the iClickers, the extra credit. And you can get more information about that online. But one thing you should do is you should also register your device on the D2L webpage. So I can link that here. Let's see. So here is the clicker registration. You follow that, and then you can register your iClicker remotes. All right. I will now go over the assigned readings. Okay, this is also available on the D2L webpage. So here's the schedule of the reading assignments. So here we are with the first lecture, August 29th. So you see the reading assignment is 1.1, 1.2, and 1.8. And then on Thursday we have a pre-assessment, so there's no reading assignment. And then on Tuesday, so there's no Labor Day lecture, we'll have sort of the first lecture. Well, the first lecture started at 0, so that's maybe a little confusing. We'll have lecture number 1, and that will cover 1.3 to 1.7. And remember, there is a homework, a pre-class homework on this material. That's due at a minute before noon on that day, Tuesday. Okay. So I mentioned homework already. And so homework is done through Mastering Physics. So that's all linked up on D2L, our website. And the last thing I would like to cover, so I already talked about homework. The last thing I would like to cover is the quizzes and the final exam. So I mentioned that the quizzes are worth 50% of the grade. And so there will be 6 in-class quizzes, and there will be 1 2-hour final exam. If you're wondering when the quizzes are, so the quizzes are September 17th. They'll always be on Mondays. September 17th, October 1st, October 15th, October 29th, November 12th, November 26th. There are no makeups for the quizzes. However, if you have a valid excuse, something that you can get in writing, that you had some academic reason for missing the quiz, or you have a doctor's note for some sort of medical problem, then that will be a valid excuse. But in order to take into account the fact that you might need to miss the quiz for some reason that's not one of those categories, we'll actually drop one of the quizzes. So we give 6, but we will drop your lowest quiz score. So in particular, if you didn't take one, that will be dropped. Now for the final exam will be Thursday, December 13th from 8 to 10 p.m. And so in terms of doing the quizzes and the final exams, what you'll need is a calculator. So that's something you should get if you don't have already. You obviously need batteries, or if it's a nice solar power calculator. We won't be allowing other versions of computing devices like smartphones, phones, laptops, and so on. We'll need a number 2 pencil for the bubble sheets, the Scantron form we'll use. And we'll bring some extra pencils and and calculators for the quizzes. And if you are a Visa or Vista student, please talk to me so that we can schedule your special testing requirements as needed. The other thing I should mention that I forgot to highlight was that for the quizzes, we will be providing a formula sheet containing the key equations that are needed. The last thing I want to mention on this is academic integrity. As you well know, you're expected to abide by the Spartan Code of Honor, and you can read that here. As a Spartan, I will strive to uphold values of the highest ethical standard, and so on. Okay, that's all I wanted to cover on these on the syllabus and the reading assignments and the homework. And at this point, Andrew will take over, and he will talk about motion diagrams, trigonometry angles, and units and significant digits.